Okay, hey everybody, thanks for joining and welcome. My name is Tony Bacigalupo. I have been a BarCamp nerd since 2007, and my wife and I came here from Connecticut to be here today because we love BarCamp and BarCamp Philly in particular that much. So I want to talk a little bit today about what you see on the screen, which is how BarCamp can save democracy, asterisk, and the similar open source community movements we create, what the heck that means. Part of why I have been a BarCamp nerd since 2007 is because of the fact that it is something that I've seen bring a lot of people together and do a lot of good in the world, and the fact that it can scale. Oh, I see. I guess one of the other talks let out.
I'm going to start this one. I'm going to go to a different one after.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to do my best to keep you here as long as I can. So here's how we're going to play this out. Most of our time will be, I'm hoping, discussion, maybe half. But we want to talk about the challenge, which is that our collective social capital has been deteriorating for some time. The opportunity, which is we can do something about it. We actually have the power to do something, which is important. And the call to action, which is that we want to join and organize more things. How we can open source it, open source what we're doing, following BarCamp's example, and then we'll discuss. So let's start by talking about the challenge. Who here is familiar with Bowling Alone? Book that came out in 2000. Oh my goodness, awesome! Solid half of the room. I'm okay. I'll take a hand wavy. So the idea behind Bowling Alone, this guy Robert Putnam did research into what makes democratic societies succeed or fail. And he actually had an opportunity to go to Italy, where there was a time when the government kind of decentralized and every district of Italy kind of became like a self-governed area. And they, some of them did really well and some of them did really poorly. And so he and his team went to Italy and researched these different districts to figure out like why did certain democratic elected governments work and why did certain ones not. And all the obvious things you would think about, like money or industry or things like that, turn out not to be the things that actually made the difference. What he realized after years of trying to figure this out was that the democratic districts that did well were the ones where the people were active, where they participated in things, where they knew each other and showed up. And the ones that failed were the ones where everybody stayed home and kind of didn't participate. So you can kind of feel the implication of what that implies. So this is the rise and decline of league bowling. And this is across the 20th century and a little bit into the 21st. And what you'll see in all of his charts is basically the same damn shape. 1900, it's down. 1950, it's up. 2000, it's back down again. And what his theory is that we as a society, not just bowling groups, but all national chapter-based associations and basically everything in general. I can show you more recent charts of just people leaving the house, hanging out with friends, getting driver's licenses for younger folks. Down, 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 down. Everything's down except for one thing. What is going up, 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 up at the same time? Yeah, good one. Yeah. What else? Yeah. Yeah. Is there something we're doing more?
Social media, games,
Internet.
Screen time. Studies have shown that they can't conclusively conclude that it's screen time, but it can't be anything else. So we've been just spending a lot more time on screens. You know, we've started getting more televisions around here too, right? So our screen time really has been increasing ever since 1950. And accordingly, we've been staying home instead of going out and actually doing real life things. This is tied to our cohesion as a country and as a democracy. It's hard for us to conceive of now, but there was a time when people from opposite parties actually voted for the same stuff. And it's not a coincidence that the more separated we become, the more extreme we become, and the less cooperative we become, and the more that our democracy degrades and gets weak and becomes vulnerable to stuff. And so what I find important and interesting is that as long as this curve keeps going down in terms of our participation in society, democracy is going to continue to have a bigger and bigger uphill battle against whoever might not be a fan of democracy. So regardless of what happens a month from today, we're still going to have this challenge, right? We're still going to have work to do. Sounds like a bummer, I know. But I have good news, which is that there's more slides. So they made a movie about this guy, Bob Putnam, and his book, which is called Join or Die. I want to play it for you because I just think it's amazing. And you can organize a screening for it in your city. So here's just check out the trailer.
Bob's a big fan of clubs.
I belong to everything. That's my high school bowling team. I'm the tall one in the middle.
And this is a film about why you should join one and how Bob discovered that the fate of America depends on it.
It's Harvard professor and award-winning writer Robert Putnam.
You've been described as the poet laureate of civil society.
Robert D. Putnam, for deepening our understanding of community in America.
He made people pay attention to a concept that most people had never paid attention to.
Social capital. Social capital. Social capital. Social networks have value.
I'd like to call on Professor Robert Putnam, who gave us the concept of social capital.
The number of people who know one another's first name, the number of people who take part in community organizations, the level of trust and reciprocity in the community.
The places that have better government are the places that have a long history of social networks and social capital.
Your chances of dying over the next year are cut in half by joining one group.
Bowling Alone. Where'd you get the title?
I happened to run into a friend who owned a bowling alley, and he said, "Gosh, Bob, you don't know it, but you've stumbled onto the major economic problems facing my industry, because although more Americans are bowling than ever before, bowling is up in America. Bowling in leagues, bowling in teams is off by about 60%.
Everything that reflects connections with other people are going down.
How many times last year did you go to church?
Down.
How many times did you go to a dinner party?
Down.
How many times last year did you go to a club meeting? In barely a couple of decades, half all the civic infrastructure in America had simply vanished. It's equivalent to saying half of all the roads in America just disappeared.
Everyone has a feeling something's happening, but then he's got charts to actually show what's actually happening.
Whatever's happening to people's sense of mutual obligation, to their understanding about the common good, to their willingness to trust their neighbor, is no longer going on because people are bowling alone.
The book Bowling Alone, which you're familiar with by Robert Putnam.
The activity may still be going on, but there's no social capital being built.
That decreases the trust we have in one another. How lonely Americans are, how divided.
You know, he may have been onto something.
We have to see loneliness as a threat to our health security and to our overall national security.
We are trying something that hasn't been done before, which is growing and sustaining a multiracial democracy.
Politics and policy ultimately depends on the social health of our country.
Organization, connections with other people is the only way you get big change.
Democracy is a pain in the ass. If it was just easy, no one would have to go to a meeting and it would all just be fair and easy. You should join, your kids should join, and if there's not an organization you want to join, create one.
America doesn't have to be the kind of America that you've lived in your whole life. You could decide to change history.
Yay. So you might guess I've seen this movie a few times. It's basically Tony's life mission, the movie.
Is this your book?
Yeah, it's mine. Feel free to pass it down to wherever.
I'm going to pass it down.
So what I'm taking away from this is social capital, our connectedness, getting out of the house, being around other people, participating things equals democracy. And conversely, disconnection, isolation, separation equals something else. And so the more that we let ourselves go down this path, the more we're going to find ourselves facing the something else. So what do we do about this chart? How do we turn it around? So we have an opportunity, and I'm going to keep fanboying Bob Putnam here because he does have a new book out, new as of a couple years ago, called The Upswing, that talks about the fact that we've been all focused on this down part. What the heck happened in this up part? And maybe we can learn how to have another up part. And so what I want to wonder on with you guys is how do we create that cultural roaring 20s. If you want to hear Bob's opinion on it, you could read the book. But what I want to talk about here is something that I witnessed that changed my life in 2007, which is the power of decentralized, open source social movements. And we are all participating in one right now. Yeah, thank you. So I'm just obsessed with this idea because a bunch of people in San Francisco in 2006 got together and they didn't love that they were not able to join a super exclusive conference that was going on there. And so they said, screw it, we're going to do a conference where everybody can come. And not only can everybody come, everybody can speak. We're not going to have, yeah?
It's called Foo Camp.
Foo Camp, that's right, Foo Camp.
Friends of O'Reilly.
Friends of O'Reilly, yes. Man knows his history. So they said, you got Foo Camp, we've got BarCamp, and it's going to be radically the opposite. Not only can everybody come, but everybody can speak. We won't even have an agenda until everyone shows up. And it was this radical idea. And guess what? They said, we're going to put it on a wiki. And if you want to do one in your city, here's the file. Here's the template. Just go do it. And there have been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different iterations of BarCamp ever since. The cultural impact of them starting something, but then making it eminently copyable and shareable and remixable is continuing to reverberate right through this room right now. So what I am just so excited about and so anxious about is I feel like we can do more of this. And we have some hints about how we might be able to do that. So I want to talk a little bit about what we can do. And I want us to talk to each other about it too. So once we have a little bit more time, we can do that. But the easiest thing we can do is we can start doing stuff, looking for excuses to get out of the house, try new things. I'm hoping we can come away with some new ideas for things each of us can do that maybe we haven't done yet. And another thing we can do is we can invite people to things. My uncle down in Kissimmee has been volunteering for 20 years at a children's organization called Give Kids the World. It's kids who have serious health concerns, and their whole family comes down there, and they get to go to Disney World, and they stay on this campus. And my uncle is just like a confirmed bachelor, doing his own thing, but his life is basically volunteering at this Give Kids the World. And I've known my uncle, my whole life, and it didn't dawn on me until recently to ask him how he ended up at this organization. And he said, a guy at work just told me he was involved with it, and he asked if I was free on the weekend to come join him. 20 years later, he's been volunteering to help children, and it's been such a rich and fulfilling part of his life, instead of whatever he would have been doing had that guy not invited him, which is probably by himself in his house. So the power of invitations, I think, is so huge, and I want to look at how we might be able to do more inviting of our friends. I will say this, there's somebody in this room who's doing something that somebody else in this room doesn't know about yet. And it would be super rad if the first person invites the second person to come tag along with them. Yeah? Maybe potential there. And then actually gathering people. So if you want to actually bring people together, it doesn't have to be a big deal. It could literally be, hey, let's get together and watch football. It doesn't have to be super extroverted. It doesn't have to be a big thing with a logo or a mailing list. It could literally just be, let's hang out. Let's eat food. Let's build a puzzle together. But this is getting us off our screens and in front of each other. And then, of course, using those examples to inspire other people. And this is something we've done before. BarCamp has done it before. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the more recent things that I have been playing with and that I've been looking at. In my new city that I moved into with my wife last year, we organized a new to town meetup. So in the new to town meetup, it was literally, hey, did you just move to town and you don't really know anybody yet? Come to our event and you'll learn about what's going on. We created a directory. I'm going to show you these things in a second. They talk about this in the movie. There used to be these city directories. So you would actually be able to move to a town and you could pick up a paper copy of a listing of every club in that town.
Welcome wagon.
Yeah, right? And like, gosh, I want more. I want that. I want that in my physical mailbox. Again, doing simple, low energy things. And even looking up like older institutions, these things like Rotary clubs and Elks, they're around and they've been doing a lot of good for a long time. So maybe I should be more aware of those things, and we'll talk more about open sourcing. So yeah, we did this New to Town meetup. It was awesome. A lot of people came out, braved some nasty weather for it. We even got the mayor to say he was coming, but then he had a natural disaster to deal with. So, we ended up creating our own People's Guide to Norwalk City Directory, and I put this in a Google Doc. It's open source. Anybody can add to it, just as a way of kind of getting started. What I'd love to do is just see more stuff like this happening, right? More things that anybody can kind of copy and do in their own context. Another modern example of this is Silent Book Club. Anybody heard of Silent Book Clubs? Wow, almost nobody? Oh, okay. Thank you. The beautiful woman in the back. Okay, so I am really a big fan of Silent Book Clubs because they're introvert-friendly social gatherings. Yeah? Okay, all right. So the idea here is you get together, you have some social time, and then when the clock starts, you literally shut up and just start reading your book. In this photo, they all have the same book, but you don't have to, the ones we've been to, you just read whatever you want to read. And then after it's over, you can be social again if you want to. I love the idea of ambient social gatherings that don't ask a lot of people. There are a lot of people who are staying at home because they feel a little apprehensive about getting out of the house. And guess what? They made it a chapter-based thing. And there's over 1,000 chapters. Very similar to the way that BarCamp works. More of this. What they have done is, I'll show you their guide in a second, but the point is they took a very simple idea. I've already explained it enough to you that you could organize your own, right? I'll show you what their instructions are. But the thing that a lot of these folks, a lot of these programs that we've seen, I think would help grow them a lot more is by open sourcing, like the Silent Book Club folks are doing. And I think this is actually integral to our democracy, because American democracy itself is an open source project. The OG radical open source dudes were the people who built this country and made it a thing that we could all participate in improving as we go. As I mentioned, BarCamp was a wiki. It started, this is what the wiki looks like now, but it was literally just a place anybody could create their own page for their city. And that was how BarCamp became all over the world. And in Silent Book Clubs, this is basically it. It's a little cut off, but like, it's just this, right? Choose your location, start your chapter, etc. They are all over the world. So what I want to see, what I feel like is going to maybe make a difference is if we think about 1,000 chapters of Silent Book Club, where there are people who are hanging out outside their house, they're around other people, maybe they're getting a little more aware of what else is going on in their community. That's a couple of hours once a month or once every couple of weeks when they're not at home fretting about the news, right? And getting more divisive and all those things. And we don't need to do this all the time. Even just a little bit of social time is a big win. I feel like we can do a lot more of this. Like there should be lots of things that are scalable, open source community programs like this. And I'm not quite sure the best role that we can play in supporting and sustaining that. So I want to leave that as an open question that maybe we can come back to for discussion. And certainly contact me if you want to talk more about it. But what I do want to do is start with us in the room here and talking about what we're doing now and what we could maybe be trying to do that we haven't tried yet. And then maybe if we start inviting our friends to that, we can at least start weaving some of that social fabric ourselves. How's that sound? That sound, yeah? Sound good? Okay, so participation time. What I'm thinking is that we get into groups of maybe 4 or 5, and I want you to take like 4 or 5 minutes and talk about what you're currently involved in. What do you participate in with a couple of your neighbors? And then we can share back some fun things that we've learned. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
All right, let's learn about what everybody else here is doing.
I like taking classes. For me, the only thing place I come to regularly is the social literacy, which they used to be we have like a lot of classes, active classes, the one
All right, y'all, let's start wrapping it up in a second here. All right. When y'all are ready, I have a fun little activity for us. If you don't mind. All right, we ready to rock? Oh, we are not ready to rock. I have to change my screen share. Okay. All right. So how was that? Was that fun? Yeah? Awesome. We're going to do super quick, not popcorn. We're going to go around the room. We'll start over here, Lauren. I want to just hear what is something that you participate in that came up in conversation, and I'm just going to write them all down on the board. Real quick.
My local civic association, and they're like street meetings.
Awesome. And also, I'm cheating here. Stitch and Bitch?
Oh, yeah, Stitch and Bitch.
Okay.
I take classes at the Philly Improv Theater.
Awesome. All right.
I'm in a creative writing group.
Okay. Adam, we'll go back.
Movie club.
Movie club. All right, we'll go over to up there.
Community garden.
Awesome. Next to you.
I'm a member of the National Federation of the Blind.
Awesome. Okay, and continuing along.
Board game nights.
Awesome. Okay.
New this season, I'm an election worker.
Yeah. Thank you for your service.
It's down in DC, so I don't know how much it helps.
You know what? I will take it. All right.
+1 to board game nights and redistricting reform.
Ooh.
Nice.
All right. In front of you.
Young professional organizations.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. We'll go to the back. Yep.
Sherry and I met at Latin dance.
Ooh. All right. Good. We'll continue along the back row and then loop back around. Fire spinning. Hot. Civic Tech. Okay.
I run votewise.org.
Votewise.org. Amazing.
To Philly Socialists and Philly Community Wireless.
Philly Community Wireless. Cool. All right.
I have to get a life, I admit.
Okay. Okay.
I work all my life. I still work. I work.
Okay. All good.
The gym is really the only social daily.
If you get, the gym is cool. Okay.
I'm a gym guy too. That's all.
Love it.
Gym work.
All right.
Help put BarCamp Philly, and I'm excited about this because one of the things we want to do for the next year is BarCamp pop-ups, which is monthly or quarterly. So this is great. So and literally as you're doing this, if you go to barcampphilly.org right now on the homepage, because I had this hidden, want to make friends, help us start BarCamp pop-ups, and join the list. So it's right there. So.
All right.
I don't want to steal the thunder, but
no, please.
Love your input.
Thunder away. Yeah.
Silent book club.
Yeah. All right.
Pennsylvania Freemasons.
Freemasons. Awesome. All right.
I take a ceramics class. I try to find new things to participate in and hope that one will eventually stick.
Okay. Well, appreciate you not giving up.
Yes.
A lot of events at Iffy Books.
Iffy Books.
Super cool, small books. Funny stuff.
Sounds a little iffy. All right. Thank you for that. She's like, yeah, I married this guy. Sorry, ladies, he's taken. There you go. Okay. So, this is cool because we have all this cool stuff. And is anybody here, how the hell do this? Is anybody here interested in any of these things that they didn't know about until we put it up here? Woo, okay. I saw your hand go up. Which one?
Like half of them.
Who's going to something like in the next week or two? Like you have a specific plan to go to the thing? Yeah, Adam.
Yeah, movie club. So the Philadelphia Film Festival, 33rd Film Festival, starts on October 17th. And our movie club did a fantasy draft in which we scheduled all the movies we're going to see together. So if you'd like to see what my draft looks like, I'd love for you to come to see those movies.
You guys did a draft of movies? Like fantasy football? Like
there are too many movies to see, Tony.
No, it's amazing. Because like, how do you guys decide what movie to see? Obviously, you have to pit them against each other.
Only, or the Philadelphia Film Society, of which there are 3 theaters in Philly, are hosting the film festival from beginning on October 17th. You can find all of the schedule on philadelphia.org. It's a great URL. but I warn you, it's overwhelming. There's so many films. How can you know where to go? So yeah, we fantasy drafted it.
Amazing, amazing. All right, yeah, I saw you raise your hand as well. You have some plans?
The garden, anybody who lives in the graduate hospital area, Tuesdays and Fridays mornings, and we have, you can just come hang out. It's a great place to be or get involved, and there's all kinds of, different folks to speak.
Awesome.
I'll be there Tuesday.
All right. So yeah.
Every Friday at 6 online, bookwise.org gets together to code the next version and talk about how to change the world.
Heck yeah. All right. Anybody else have any plans coming up they want to tell people about? Yeah.
I guess if anybody else lives in the East Passing Crossing neighborhood in South Philly, the monthly Civic Association meeting is coming up this Monday, and it's like a good group. It's not like one of those RTOs that's like not cool. And such a bitch every Thursday in South Philly.
Amazing. I have to take pictures. Thank you. So just for reference, again, if you see something up here that you're interested in, somebody else in this room is already doing it, and maybe you could find them and they could hook you up. Sounds really cool, right? I want to do more of this. All right, let's talk about organizing. Is there anything that, or not organizing, sorry, something you haven't tried yet? So we just did a little bit of this, but is there anything else anybody was thinking of doing? It doesn't have to have been on that screen. Something you've been wanting to try. Should we break out into groups to talk about this? Yes? I heard a yes. All right, get back in your groups. Let's talk about what you're interested in that you're not socializing on right now. Does that sound good? Let's give it a try. Yeah, I know. We got to work on that one.
Yeah, like people read it or yeah, no, you're not like
Hey, Mac.
It's really cool that you're talking about this because, like, we after last year, when I saw your talk was different last year.
Yeah.
You had a book or something?
Yeah. My State of Belonging report. Yeah.
Because your heart's really in community and helping people and stuff like that. I felt that. And so when Tim at the last session last year announced like, hey, we want to do new things and we don't want to do this anymore, a bunch of us, stepped up and we've been doing it since that day. Me and Bree started it, and then we got obviously have the group. But one of the first things I said, it's like, BarCamp is cool. Like the people that go to BarCamp are some of the better people I know. There's like a humility, but there's a great depth of knowledge, and it's like, why don't we do this once a year? Why can't we do this all year long? And the gang was like, yeah, we got to do this. So some people were a little more resistant, like, well, we got to do the legacy of BarCamp stuff. So I said, sure, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the event and then get the team gelled because everybody's new working together. But we got through conflict, really great group. See who showed up, really just. And so then, so then this was like, hey, let's launch the BarCamp pop-ups and see, tell everybody about it, volunteer. Like, hey, let's make this together.
Yeah.
So we could do it in a house, we could do it in a bar, we could do it at something. It could be monthly or whatever.
I'm really excited because the barrier is so much lower. Like I would organize more bar camps where I live, but it's hard to get the venue. It's a lot of work to produce a bar camp. But if you did a micro version of a bar camp that you could do in a bar or a cafe or whatever, then it might be easier for more people.
What do you think of name? We just threw out like something. How about like pop-up stuff? BarCamp
Sure.
BarCamp micro. I like that.
Either.
Yeah. But you're up in Connecticut.
Yeah. I know.
But one of the things we want to do is Zooms too, like offline and online, just because people need connection, I think, more than ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured, how many people have I met in their 20s like, I have social anxiety? I mean, I've never met, there's like a pandemic of social anxiety.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, so
plowing through that.
I like it. Hey, great to meet you.
You too.
I didn't catch your name.
Michael.
Okay. Awesome, man. All right, let's be in touch. All right, let's start to wrap it up if that's cool with y'all. I just got to chat with Michael over there, and we were talking about the BarCamp pop-ups, which sound amazing. But then we shook hands, and we accidentally did this, which I think means we're like blood brothers now. That's like better than a handshake. So, if you want to give me the forearm handshake afterward, I'm down. All right, let's share it back. What did we come up with? What are you thinking of trying that you haven't done yet? Yeah.
We were going to go to the Sound Book Club in Mount William, Jersey.
Woo! Nice. We're going to popcorn this one, so raise your hand or... Yeah.
Trying to start my own organization for 4-Day Philly, trying to spread a 4-day work week.
Oh, yeah. Great.
You'll be a hero to everybody.
Is that 4-10s or 4-8s though?
4-8. Oh, just like hyper-local coffee meetups with my immediate neighbors.
Ooh.
Like, just piece of paper into the mailbox. Hey, I'm having coffee at 11. You in?
Hell yeah. Can we get in touch and open source that?
Sure.
Great. Thank you. I love it. More of that. All right. What else?
I want to find a Japanese speakers club of some kind.
Does anyone know of it one?
Yeah, there's like what's that website, meetup.com or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I'll look there. Yeah.
They've got a couple in Philly for language meetups. I don't know how active the Japanese one is, but it's there, it exists.
Killer. We're making it happen, y'all.
Give it a talk at BarCamp.
Yeah. You know, the rule used to be if you haven't spoken at a BarCamp before, you must. Can't really enforce it, but like that was kind of like if it's your first If it's your first time at Fight Club, you have to fight. You know? Yeah.
Kind of a combination of hyperlocal and silent book club, but silent art club.
Whoa. Babe, we're coming back to Philly. Awesome. You're starting one? Oh, I'm sorry. I did. The prompt was, what are you interested to try, not what you're committing to try. I apologize. If anyone would like to encourage this wonderful person to do that, you can do that afterward. Anybody else? Stuff you're interested to try you haven't tried yet? Y'all talked quite a bit. Okay.
I was maybe it was you, whoever said fire spinning, I was like, what is that? Maybe I want to do that.
Awesome.
Do you want me to answer that? We'll talk later.
Awesome.
Equipment that is on fire that you spin.
Killer. Thanks, everyone. This has been great. I want to just leave a little room for discussion around the open source side of this. And I don't think that it's something we can really kind of dig too far into here. But I am curious about, like, what do you think of that? Yeah.
Tony, I have a thought. Is this a rhetorical question or a real question?
We have time.
So one thing that I think about is, to your point about open sourcing, I struggle with building resilient meetups or like things that can exist outside of me planning them every week. Do you know of a easy software or just a solution that already exists to my problem?
That's part of what I'm thinking is there's an opportunity, you know? Like one of the things that I always wish meetup.com had was that, you know, there's like WordPress meetups in every, you know, all over the world. If I want to start WordPress meetup Norwalk, I can't start with the template that they use for WordPress meetup Philly or whatever it is. So I think there's still an opportunity there. But honestly, even just like publishing Google Docs, like just writing down the procedure, making it as foolproof as possible, similar to the way that the Silent Book Club, you know, they have like their 4 points, this is the keys, but also designing the engagement so that it is successful just by virtue of the fact that it's organized around something that people care enough about that getting them in the same room, you kind of can't go wrong. Does that make sense? Like if it's too prescriptive in terms of the outline and like what needs to be done, it gets harder to maintain. But if it's just like, if it gives people the space and the room to self-identify and show up there, and then the action they can take is simple enough, then it can propagate. But I think I would for now, until some of us sit down and build the tool that doesn't exist, I would just use what's out there. Yeah.
I would also suggest that you guys use things that are already existing, like Meetup, because trying to find volunteers or people interested in other venues is very challenging. And having a thing that's already built and people already go there to look for things is it's half the battle, 90% of the battle.
Yeah.
We were just talking yesterday with Alex about a Bumble BFF. Is another
Yes, that's right.
Because Bumble's a dating app, but it's like to meet friends and people put events there. So if you're looking to try a new platform that's a little user-friendly in a different way, then...
Alex was showing us this last night, our friend Alex Hellman, who's also here, and he was showing us that Bumble BFF is now letting you kind of create like mini meetup groups kind of thing. So, and they've got a user base, right? So there it might be an interesting territory to explore. Yeah.
I was talking with a friend about like political organizing, and a phrase that actually I just keep thinking about. Instead of thinking it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Instead of thinking it's not a marathon, it's a relay race.
Spicy.
And that is an impactful way to think about it.
Nice.
And also just like when it comes to community building, because I've done this before and unfortunately succumbed to this problem. Just thinking about like the power dynamics in your community, right? Like even if you don't want to believe that you have all the power in your meetup, like you inherently do. And so really reaching out to people that seem interested but a little bit hesitant I mean, like, hey, you, like, I think you would be fantastic at this. Like, I need you to help me organize this, so that they get the practice to then, you know, potentially lead your community or meetup in the future. Because otherwise, if you kind of don't do that, you know, if you move cities, it's kind of extinguished.
One unsolicited tip, just to come back to that question of, you know, like sustaining, growing a community movement, it's just remembering that it's okay for community programs to end. And one of the things that gets us in trouble is chasing perpetuity. So a book club that does great for 6 months and then stops meeting because people get busy and life happens isn't a book club that failed. It's a book club that succeeded to meet for 6 months, right? But we're used to not thinking of it that way, that if it stops, that something went wrong. So I think sometimes it helps to set a boundary to say, you're gonna run this thing and it starts, but it also ends. And then that way they have a graceful off-ramp. If a volunteer gets busy or tired, they know, all right, after 3 months, I can hand off the baton or I can end it gracefully. And it just helps people kind of have a sense of like boundaries, and then you're not like stretching a community thing past its shelf life. So for what it's worth, if that helps. Other thoughts on like how we can support this idea of open sourcing ideas more? Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, a lot of this community building stuff requires physical spaces, and I feel like sort of just sharing information on like what places are good for hosting things is something that I've heard a lot of organizers talk about having trouble with.
Library.
Yeah, no, it's a huge problem. When I talked to Scott Heiferman, the CEO of Meetup, he said that was the number one challenge that Meetup organizers had. Adam, do you know of any venues where people can...
My name is Adam Tedros. I'm the Director of Community for the longest running co-working community right here in Philadelphia. It's called Indie Hall. And Indie Hall wants to host your club. That is the party line. I use that language. You know, we go way back in terms of co-working as a word that is really important to us. There's a little part of me that feels like we lost the war on that word. But the word club is a good word. And Indie Hall has a clubhouse. We host clubs. So if there's something that you would like to do, we want to do it with you. We're in Northern Liberties, close to the Spring Garden Station. I have a talk at 2 p.m. Yeah, I'd love to meet you.
Rad.
It's a great space.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, great space, better community.
There it is. Yeah.
One thing that helped me think about open source was like what are, maybe it's just, I know what the word means, I know I've experienced BarCamp many years, right? But like what are the mindset, philosophy, principles so that then I might take that and think about it when I'm building something or gathering?
Yeah.
That feels like a piece I'm missing.
Yeah, so even kind of like just documenting like how would I open source my community idea?
Yeah, like what is that?
Yeah.
I think about like what are the 10 principles, you know, but for open source.
Yeah, you're right. Because if you were to ask me like what's a resource that I could go to that would just teach me how to do it well, I don't know where I'd point you, and we should at least have like a really good blog post or something about it as a starting point. I might have one that I forgot about, but I'll. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, you can find me. Yeah.
We're developing some kind of like a leadership in community organization wiki or blog, something that listed out, you know, here's some success stories, here's things that didn't work, and here's some people with stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, maybe that congeals into something that is something like you know, a community leader's body of knowledge that is maintained. Because that, I mean, it's amazing that in this group how much open source knowledge there is about community organizing in all these different ways. But that's not, you know, this is an extraordinary group compared to the general population. And I think what you're advocating for is what kind of structures do we need to take this out into broader population?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not volunteering to start that.
No, but it's a good point because by definition, everybody in this room is already kind of a joiner. Like y'all came out to this, so that's, how do we get folks who are more, harder to get out?
That is a good question. What data or research or decades, you seem like you have quite a bit of experience and you have a lot of experience. Like, how do you get people out of home, especially in the day and age post-COVID where everybody's cozy and watching Zooms?
Yeah, I think so my theory is we can't win the fight against screens, right? It's like literal heroin for our dopamine loops, right? We can't win that fight, but what I think we can do is we can stick our foot in the door and create openings so that when my local cafe hosts a postcard writing campaign to get out the vote, it's easy enough for my wife and I to say, oh, we can go hang out at our cafe and write on postcards. It's easy enough and it sounds fun. And maybe a friend we know is doing it. So that's 2 hours every week that we're not at home freaking out watching the news, right? So I think the invitation is that hook, is that moment of saying like, hey, you want to come hang with me? We're doing this thing. And I think the more we can do that, the more we can reach more people, just because, I think that works.
The direct ask.
The ask, absolutely. I've thought about doing, like, one crazy idea that I have is to do an invitation week, where it's like during that week, if you're going to go do something, you commit to inviting other people to join you in doing it, like just to create some awareness around the importance of the act of the invitation. So if anybody wants to explore that more with me, hit me up. Yeah?
Also, I'd say it's a low investment to do a Zoom meeting, and it's a higher investment to do in person. So in person, food.
Yeah. Food, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the service is.
Good trick, yeah.
Food. Whether it's pizza or cookies or something, gives them an excuse to go there, as opposed to being online.
Adam, what happened to Indy Hall's slowest day of Wednesday when it became Cupcake Wednesday?
I can't wait to find out what happened.
It went from the slowest day to the busiest day.
Yeah, the cupcakeiest day.
Yeah. We're simple creatures, all for carbs, and people will show.
What was the percentage of increase in attendance, and was it just the cupcakes?
This is not a real thing,
but
we have hosted potluck, and here's the thing about food. Food is an amenity, and if the amenity stops, then people stop coming. So I found that food, in a contributive sense, is one of the best ways where not only will there be food, but it gives you the feeling of participating towards something, and the experience would not be what it is without you.
So the good old-fashioned potluck.
Stone soup.
Yep.
Everybody brings an ingredient.
Yep. All right, we're almost out of time. Yeah.
I was just going to suggest going off of that food can be your enemy sometimes if it's what's the contingency on bringing people out. The most success I have found is just by listening to what the people around me want and then building it.
Nice.
I think it's as simple as that.
2 things to wrap us up, and then it's lunch. Thank you all for hanging out and for this conversation. I'm thrilled and I'm inspired. I want to go do some cool shit, and I hope you do too. I got one more thing at the last time slot this afternoon. It is a BarCamp tradition. It's called Half Baked, and it is entrepreneurial improv theater. And it is a chance for us to make up startups with silly names and then figure out how to pitch them and use lots of silly startup buzzwords. So that'll be this afternoon at 4, and it's super fun. I think last year the winner was spaghetti galoshes. So, mentioned keeping in touch. So if you want to talk to me and talk to each other about what y'all are doing and what y'all are trying, I thought I'd just spin up a WhatsApp group so we can keep in touch. And I would love to hear more from y'all about what y'all are interested in doing. And thanks for your time. It's 1:00. That's lunch.